Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Conor Cookins, and today we have another Trekyards original for you all to enjoy.
That's right, and we are lucky enough to have the designer of today's ship joining us today. Everyone, please welcome Adrian Dominguez to the show.
Hey guys, it's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you join us, and for you to bring us this excellent ship design for the complete Trekyards treatment today.
And speaking of said design, let's learn a little about that as we take a look at the Arizona-class battle carrier. Now, we have already done a mission briefing on this ship, but Adrian wanted to really flesh this out and get a full episode made on her. So thanks for supporting the show and for giving us all such a great ship to look at and learn about.
Yes, it's my pleasure to share my design with all of your fans. As mentioned already, the ship is a command battle cruiser with a multi-role capability. Its primary mission profile is a mobile command and control ship, and its secondary role is that of a deep space tactical exploration vessel, as it is essentially a mobile starbase. The ship's complement, depending on mission profile, is anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 personnel, with an emergency evacuation limit of about 30,000.
The ship has a total overall length of 1,599 metres, width of 693.9 metres, and 64 decks. The first ship of the class, the USS Arizona NCC 56892, was named after ill-fated Arizona that was sunk at Pearl Harbor. This new ship was commissioned in 2387 using lessons learned from the Dominion War and the Battle of Wolf 359. And in 2390, just 3 years after the initial drawing board designs, the ship was launched and underwent 6 months of trials and shakedown cruises.
After overhauling some of the systems and structures based on these shakedown cruises, the ship was finally officially launched in 2391, with the second ship of the class, the USS Nimitz, being launched 6 months later, with only one more, the USS Bismarck, also slated for release. This ship was designed to be a real game changer and as such employed new experimental drive technologies. These new drive systems allowed the ship to explore much farther than any ships of the era and possibly even begin exploring space beyond our galaxy.
That's right. The ship incorporated not only conventional warp drive technology, but also quantum slipstream and a new graviton field jump drive system. Standard warp was provided by a dual-core warp core system, which was protected by subspace dampening fields and had a cruising speed of warp 8.92. This could be sustained for up to 3 days if required. Maximum emergency warp speed was warp 9.97 and could be sustained for up to 26 hours. The quantum slipstream system produced speeds up to 1.75 times 10 to the 6th the speed of light for up to 14 hours at a time. And then there was the new developed Cytherian adaptive technology experimental graviton field jump drive, which was tested and proved incredibly successful. This new system allowed the ship to travel at a maximum distance of 50,000 AUs in a 35-second jump cycle.
Weapons on this ship matched her updated propulsion systems and would be more than a match for almost anything she'd find herself running up against. The ship had several torpedo weapons pods, not just launchers, weapons pods, 5 dorsal, which housed 84 launcher tubes, 4 ventral, the total of 48 launcher tubes. Each of these pods had power supplemented by 4 enhanced power nodes, based on Borg technology. Each of these tubes could fire photons, quantums, transphasic, and gravimetric torpedoes, and the ship included many Borg-enhanced features due to Voyager returning to the Alpha Quadrant 2 years after the vessel's design process had started.
Admiral Janeway and 7 of 9 soon joined the development team. 7 of 9 now going by the name Commander Annika Hansen as chief design consultants for Project Arizona. As Janeway had such experience with the Borg and seen that Voyager had new technology installed, she was of course the natural choice to make the next huge leap in starship design. However, many of the shielding technologies brought back were classified by Section 31 as well as the Department of Temporal Investigations and could not be used. The ship was outfitted with 29 Type 13 phaser arrays, as well as 13 rapid-fire phaser pulse cannons. Each of these turrets were mounted on repulsor pivot-style bases that facilitated fast rotational speeds along the Z-axis. The ship could also deploy chronoton, tricobalt, and gravimetric mines.
One of the main unique features of the ship was the use of new large exocomps, which would eventually replace the need for workpiece. 20 of these large exocomps repair and construction units were on board and could fabricate materials as they worked. This saved a large amount of time when doing construction or repair operations and proved extremely successful. This also meant that the Arizona-class vessels could be constructed in about the same time it took to construct the Galaxy-class ships.
The ship also incorporated the new phased cloaking technology that was a progression of the technology we've seen used on the ill-fated USS Pegasus. The system obviously does have some limitations, however, and as due to spatial distortions that occur while using the new gravimetric drive technology, the cloak could not be active while using the drive. As with other cloaked vessels, this is an immense power drain on the ship's systems, so the ship cannot fire while cloaked, which means as the ship is preparing to decloak, only then can the ship get its systems up and ready to fire.
Shielding systems were also at minimal power while employing the cloak. This minimal shielding is enhanced, however, by ablative hull armor and an automated shield regeneration matrix, which was developed and adapted by Commander Hansen. The ablative armor was also enhanced when the ship wasn't cloaked by implementing Borg and Cytherian technologies to create an energy-based version of the armor, supplemented by the reserve power cores. The cloaking system was also only to be used under strict conditions, and then only in the Gamma and Delta quadrants as per Starfleet orders.
Another of this ship's advantages are the addition of several different launch and shuttle bays. These bays house the vessel's very impressive array of shuttles and fighters, which included 5 Aero-class runabouts, 20 Type 10 shuttles, 10 Type 9A shuttles, 8 Type 11 shuttles, 12 Type 14 shuttles, 20 work bees, 40 Valkyrie Mark III fighter craft, 20 Peregrine fighters, and 40 of the new developed Delta-class fighters. All of these fighters utilize new ablative regenerative armor as standard equipment.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, I was going to say my joke from the run-through. And, of course, 150 kitchen sinks, because we all need that many. Jesus. The new Delta-class fighters were the most impressive and were based on a Delta Flyer design, obviously. Designed by the crew of the USS Voyager. This new Delta Fighter class was designed by the team led by Commander Annika Hansen and Commander Tom Paris and measured in at 14.44 meters long, 8.42 meters wide, and had a crew of 2, sporting 10 phaser arrays, 4 pulse phase cannons, and they had also a complement of 10 quadtorpedoes and featured 4 forward and 8 aft firing micro-torpedo tubes. And shielding was provided by a Borg-derived automated adaptive shield generation matrix.
And a partridge in a pear tree. All right, so it is the time of the show where we talk to the designer and just ask some questions and get a feel for how the ship came about and what started this design philosophy that he has.
Yeah, the big question obviously why, but let's go back to the beginning. When, obviously, we have looked at this ship before in a mission briefing. That was a lot of fun. It was a very unique craft then, and this has been updated since then. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But what was the initial start of this design, and when did you make that first sketch that would lead to this ship?
Summer of last year, 2016. I had watched, again for the umpteenth time, Tears of the Prophets and all the battles involving Klingons, seeing the incredible array of weapons that they installed in DS9. And at the same time, I was also looking at different sci-fi sites of some of their humongous ships that they have just as regular ships. And I figured I wanted to meet somewhere in the middle, because during all the battles in against the Borg or the Dominion, the Federation took super heavy losses, not just in ships and in life. And I wanted to make something that could have a punch and at the same time could be used for some type of exploration as a secondary role. On the flip side, the other thing I wanted to incorporate in the ship were 2 things that that Star Trek canon hit on a little bit. That was with regard to the technology that was brought back from the Delta Quadrant and the technology that Enterprise D brought back with their encounter with that Cytherian race in, I think it was the Nth Degree. And I wanted to incorporate that to a brand new type of ship that could revitalize Starfleet's ship life.
Now, one of the things I noticed right away was the name of the ship, the Arizona. What made you go with that particularly? Like, are you a fan of World War II and that ship in particular?
I've always loved the battleships. I had my own, I think it was 1/350 scale New Jersey, and I always had a fascination with that. And then little time later, I saw, I think I read how they upgraded the ship and took away some of their regular cannons and updated with those close air weapon systems, those Vulcan cannons. They put harpoon missiles. They put I can't remember what the other one is, harpoons and something else. I can't remember offhand. But they pretty much like almost revitalized the ship, and that's kind of something I want to incorporate in my ship. You know, they pay homage to the Arizona, and just give it honor with something as powerful and as how would you say momentous as a new ship of this magnitude.
So when was the first time you actually sketched this design, and what was the process like to get from concept to here's a ship?
It was all done in Blender. Just messing with different designs, different hull configurations. For me, back in the day, it would have been all on pencil, paper, graphic paper. And after I discovered Blender, that's when I started to mess with actual like 3D designs. I can not just design one side of it. I can actually flip it and see, does this work? Does this not work? Is this going to look too odd? And then little by little, I just started to take ships that were already in Star Trek canon, ships that would already be available. They would have parts, would have your technology that already worked, and go from there.
Well, one of the most notable features on this thing that I really like are the actual turrets themselves, which I guess harkens back to your love of battleships. What made you think that would be a good addition to like a Starfleet vessel? I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea, but is that something you wanted to incorporate since day one on this design?
Since day one, it was going to be strictly a battleship. So I went and I just loved that the way the battleships have their main guns along the spine of the ship. And I think, is there a way I can incorporate that into my ship? And in the beginning, they were going to be stationary, shown at all times. But then at the same time, then I started to hear, okay, I do not want another Babylon 5 incident. And I think I agreed, maybe these should be able to be hidden when not needing to be so imposing.
And I note that some of the bigger pods are the Akira pod.
They are the Akira pod.
Stuck on. And it kind of works.
And let me tell you, I had to scale a human size, average 6 foot, took the scale size of the Akira, and went from there. Took some time, but yeah, they are to scale.
Wow.
So that I was going to ask why pick such a big ship. Scale is kind of almost incidental. So, well, what I pick, I have no idea. So you thought, this is the existing technology that they have at the time. This is how big I want to feel, and then extrapolate. That's interesting. One thing I see when I look at this ship, apart from the sovereign-esque but unique saucer, you got this wonderfully long secondary hull, which very much, and I said this in the pre-show, it was that feels like a battleship, an aircraft carrier kind of vibe to it, which is very, I think, must be deliberate. I mean, that could all be just fighter storage. I love these engines that come off that are so simple, but it's a humongous ship. You can't have sleek, advanced engines just to pack enough energy and cores in there to make it run. You got to go back to basics. Is what I take from that. It was that the thought process behind such simple and yet complementary nacelle design.
Oh, absolutely. I basically incorporate that graviton drive and a number of my other ships that I've made, and my approach was the larger the ship, the larger the engines have to be to generate that field distortion. And like warp, it's not linear, it's exponential. So the larger the ship, the more power you have to be able to generate. All the pods do fire multiple torpedoes, as well as the turrets on the top. And my inspiration was DS9. And when you see them they have their multiple lasers, they have the multiple launchers, but then you see additional units pop up, and they have multiple phaser arrays on each of them, multiple quantum torpedo launchers, and that's what I wanted to put in my ship.
Now, one thing we should probably mention too is the use of the phase cloak, and the fact that this happened after the destruction of Romulus. So the Treaty of Algernon kind of fell apart after that because the Romulan government was in shambles. So they could develop this new cloaking technology, and like we said in the first part of the show, it was only used in special circumstances under Starfleet order in the Delta and Gamma quadrants. Much like the Defiant, it can only be used in the Gamma quadrant and only with the Romulans' approval, which I think they went against quite often in the show. But that was the initial concept, so
it's a rule they forgot conveniently.
Yeah. But I like the addition of the phase cloak idea, the fact that we developed that a little bit more, and that you can use it on a Starfleet vessel. I think that's a great idea.
Well, to jump off that, I mean, was that something you saw when TNG aired, the idea of the phase cloak, and you were always fascinated by it? I mean, it's quite a hefty piece of tech to add to an already powerful ship. So what was the impetus behind adding that as well?
My initial awe was when the Enterprise was actually able to move through the rock. I was like, that's what kind of a tactical advantage could that possibly
Every
provide?
kind.
And then later on, as Stuart pointed out, that the Dominion were able to see through regular, or detect through regular cloak. And then I'm thinking, okay, if this ship is able to go through extended deep space areas in the Gamma and Delta quadrant, what if they were to come across some civilization that's not exactly peaceful, and then get detected and something happens? And again, as far as the Borg is concerned, they have documented thousands of civilizations, and we've only come across, in canon, a few dozen. What about all the other ones? What kind of technology could they have? Could this phase cloak provide them that invisibility of being able to explore unharassed?
So it's basically a Swiss Army knife, but to the extreme that you put, 8 or 9 assault rifles on the knife, and you put, platinum shielding and all these things. It's kind of like the every ship within one ship. I mean, did you mean for it to become the best thing ever? Because obviously we compare it. I mean, the Borg cube in First Contact, it survives a fleet, although Quantum still punish it and do some damage. I can only imagine if this thing's firing all weapons. I mean, it can deliver a lot of damage. I mean, was it the intent to become unbeatable?
Basically, I wanted it to have a lot of punch and not necessarily be unbeatable, but definitely not be a situation like we saw Miranda-class ships coming into battle, and with one shot, they were done. I mean, I'm sure they enhanced their systems as well as they could, but they were limited with technology.
I mean, just the scale implies that the armor is thick as hell. It's like the Titanic if it worked right. Everything put in place to stop it from being destroyed. You just did it right.
And that's what I thought was just so perfect about being able to adapt a lot of that Cytherian technology. Because I remember, Geordi made the phasers as hot as he could. Nothing happened to it. That probe just kept right on going after them. And that's why I wanted to be able to incorporate that type of technology from the get-go, and instead of like trying to adapt it.
One of the additions you made that I really like was the addition of the new, larger style Exocomps. I thought the Exocomps was a good idea, and it was never really revisited again. But to upscale those and kind of replace work bees, where it's got like a replicator on the tip and it can replicate the materials it needs. That's a fantastic idea.
The replicators are on the front and on the perimeter. And there is one pilot, but he's pretty much there just to monitor things in case bad things start to happen and they lose power and they can intervene. But otherwise, it's all pretty much on the Exocomp to do its job.
I'm looking at this great back view that we did of this model. And I know Stuart said this earlier, like the shuttle bays, the fighter bay, they're so well integrated and look so not even opposing, but so functional and yet not over the top. And that's a hell of a balance to do, you know, and the more we multiplayer and good job. I'm not sure what the point I was trying to make there, or there wasn't really a question, just good job and damn, that would look impressive seeing just squadrons. We heard how many fighters it have, and just shuttles, you know, just a lot of ships. I mean, yeah.
Well, I appreciated your feedback going from the 1 shuttle bay to the 2, and that just fit perfect.
And I got to say, jumping off the fighter point, the addition of the Delta class, the Delta fighter class, taking the Delta flyer design and turning it into a fighter craft was an awesome idea. So was that uniquely your idea, or was that something you had seen before, or where'd you come up with that?
That's something, 2 things. I would wish they had made it more or showed it more in that role in Voyager. And 2, the reality of it is that fighters really, for the most part, don't have a chance going up against larger capital ships. Against smaller ships, smaller shuttles, armed shuttles, yeah. And that's why where I took that idea of, okay, what if we applied that ablative armor to these fighters? What if we added, as like some of the other, like the Griffin class, they have quantum torpedoes or photon torpedoes. Why couldn't I just stick that on the inside like a stealth fighter or stealth bomber, and when they needed, just drop one as, you know, in pairs and fire those.
I got to ask though, were you tempted to put the fins back on it? Because the fins look cool on that thing, and that would really help the fighter aspect.
I was very tempted because I was like, that's gonna look cool.
Yeah.
But I stood down.
If Tom Paris became Admiral Paris, he would put him back. But until then, restraint.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's probably it for this look at the Arizona-class battle carrier, which is a fantastic ship. So thank you very much, Adrian, for coming to Trekyards and having us look at this ship and flesh it out. Twice, yes. Really, it was really a pleasure to work on this. It's a cool-looking ship, so thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. That was super excellent experience. I love the show. Always I'm on the Facebook page, and got so much incredible talent you guys have out there, and invite from other incredibly talented people, including our Doug Drexler, Sternbach, and I mean, yeah, I feel almost unworthy, but it's hella cool.
I guess, is there any advice you'd give to fans out there that want, or might want an original? What would you say to them?
Do it. If you have a design you want to put out there, have it fleshed out, Trekyards, they can do it.
And you haven't seen the renders yet, but what do you think about, what do you think is going to happen for the full episode when it actually comes out? All those cool animations. Are you excited?
No words. No words.
And if you want to support us to do more cool things like this with other great people, then support us on Patreon, the monthly donation service, or a one-time donation at trekyards.com, or email, as Adrian was kind of encouraging us, at trekyards@hotmail.com if you want a ship design. Now we do mission briefings and full episodes. We have multiple packages for whatever you want, and we have in-house modelers that can help turn. I mean, Adrian had this model already. Good job. But we have team members that can build these models for you if you want to really create, a 2D sketch you've had for 30, 40 years. Make it really come alive. Then email trekyards@hotmail.com, let us know, and we'll tell you how to make that happen.
That's right. And don't forget to share this video around to anybody you think might like it. And subscribe to the channel. If the subscribe button is red, you haven't clicked it yet, and it's a red alert. Click that button, make it white, and click the bell notification icon so you get notified every time we upload as well, because that really helps us out. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up.
And let us know what you think of Adrian's design. Give us those thumbs up or comments what you think of Adrian's design. And if you want to see him design more ships, let us know, because, with your encouragement, he might come back with another great episode, another great ship.
And I'm sure he's going to be reading your comments and stuff below, so be nice, ask him any questions you guys want to, and I'm sure he'll be engaging with you guys down below in the comment section. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coggins.
I'm Adrian.
And we will see you in the future. Bye, guys.